friends, today we're going to talk about my favorite crochet short row technique and how to implement that into your garments or whatever you're making. So this technique shows up in my C Street tank, but I have used it in several other garments that I've made, and I'm sure it will pop up in future designs as well. So I have made just a little sample here, a tiny swatch. I have 25 stitches, and that is just because I felt like that was a good size, but we want to keep that in mind because we're going to be checking our stitch count later. So instructions for how to approach these short rows might come in a couple of different ways. You might see something that says work to X number of stitches before the end of the row, or you might see work X number of stitches and then the instructions to begin the short rows follow. Or you might have markers and it might say to work to the marker or work to X number of stitches before the marker. No matter what the instructions are, the steps that follow are going to be the same. Those instructions are just letting you know where to stop whatever stitch you've been doing and start your short row technique. So for the C Street tank, we are using half double crochet. So these steps will be going into short rows from a half double crochet. The basic premise will be the same whether you're doing single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, something like that. Of course, if you're doing different stitches, then your instructions for how to work the short rows might be a little bit different, but the basic premise is the same. So let's talk about how we do these short rows in our half double crochets. So I have worked partway across the row just so that you didn't have to watch me do that. And my instructions that I'm going to use say to work to 6 stitches before the end of the row. So let's count that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 stitches before the end of the row. So that means that where I am right now, I need to work 3 more stitches. So let's do that really quickly. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we will double check one more time. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches before the end of the row. Now my instructions say to single crochet 1. So let's do that. Now I slip stitch 1, so I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and now I turn. So that is the creation of our short row. We have only worked a partial row and now we are turning, and this is going to make the section over here slightly bigger or deeper because it's going to have more rows than the section over here on the end. So now we're going to move into row 2 of our short rows, and it says to chain 1. Again, follow whatever your pattern says, but mine says to chain 1 and to skip the slip stitch. So the slip stitch is right here. Let's see if we can get that. Right here at the base of our chain, right where we turned, we're going to skip that, and we're going to single crochet 1 into the single crochet stitch that we did before. So I'm going to single crochet into here. And now my instructions to say to half double crochet to 6 stitches before the end of the row on the other side. So I'm going to start my half double crochets and I will meet you over on the other side. Okay, I have made it to the other side and I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches from the end. So I'm ready to start following my instructions for the short rows. So now I am going to single crochet 1, slip stitch 1, and turn. So again, we see that I am turning before I get to the end of the row, so I'm making a short row. Now we're going to do the same instructions that we did before. We're going to chain 1, and this is our slip stitch right at the bottom of that chain. We're going to skip it and single crochet into the single crochet stitch from before. And now I'm going to go back to half double crochets. Now your instructions might have more repeats of this. So you might have something that tells you to work only to over here and have another short row, and then work back and have another short row, so that this center section is growing even deeper. But for the purposes of this tutorial and for showing you how to resolve your stitches, I'm going to follow the next steps in my pattern and work all the way to the end. So the way that my pattern says to do this is to half double crochet across, making sure to place 1 half double crochet in the turning chain above the slip stitch from the previous row. Now that is a lot of words, and I will show you what I mean when we get there. So let's half double crochet across to where we see our short row stitches starting. Okay, so I am approaching where things start to slope for my short rows, and I want to make sure that I am placing a half double crochet in each of these stitches. So I have 1 stitch, I have this stitch which was my single crochet, and now I have this turning chain. So this, let's make sure that's focusing for you. There we go. This turning chain is above our slipped stitch that we skipped in the last row when we turned and went across. So we are going to place a half double crochet in that turning chain to make up for the fact that we skipped a stitch. Whoops, there we go. So I'm going into my turning chain to make up for the fact that we skipped that slipped stitch. So I have my half double crochet there, and then we have already worked into this column of stitches. So my next stitch is going to go right here into our next half double crochet that was not worked in the previous rows. So I'm going to half double crochet into that and half double crochet all the way to the end of my row. Okay, so now you can see we have a slope here that has been really smoothed out and looks great, and you can really not even tell that there is anything happening there. So let's take care of our next row and resolve the short rows over here, because right now this is a little bit harsh and angular, so let's smooth that out. So my next row is the same principle. My pattern says to chain 1 and half double crochet across, making sure to place 1 half double crochet in the turning chain above the slip stitch from the previous row. So we're going to chain 1 and half double crochet across. And I will meet you at the other side when I get a little bit closer to my short rows. Okay, I have a couple stitches left before I get to that spot where I turn around. So I'm going to keep on half double crocheting as I approach it, and now what I am looking at is I have 1 stitch right here. That is where I did my single crochet, and then I have my turning chain above the slip stitch. So I'm going to half double crochet into where I did the single crochet. And now here is my turning chain. We want to make sure we half double crochet into that to make up for the fact that we skipped a stitch earlier. So we're going to go into that turning chain and half double crochet. And now, if we look at the way our stitches line up, we've already worked into this column. So our next stitch is going to be right here into this one. So this is our first unworked stitch, and we're going to half double crochet into that to join our short rows and smooth everything out. And now I'm going to complete the row working all the way to the end. So there we go. We have nice, smooth, beautiful short rows here that are helping us to add a little bit of depth. So now the center is deeper than the sides, and this can be used for back neck shaping. This can be used for shaping like in the bottom of the C Street tank, and it can be used in a lot of different ways. So let's do one last count of our stitches and make sure that we have the same count that we did before, because we were working only partial rows and we were skipping stitches, and we want to make sure that our stitch count is the same as it was. So I started with 25, and let's count and make sure we are good. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So it's always a good idea to double check your stitch count after you've done your short rows, because you never know, things can easily get lost, and when we're doing a lot of skipping and rearranging of our rows, we want to make sure that we don't lose or add stitches. So there you go. That is how I like to add short rows into my crochet.